Dudi's got the shotgun. Dudi, hop out and shoot him.
Got him. Get in.
Hop in, boys. Tell me when you're in.
Hey, buddy, you gonna let me in your car and drive me?
Take anything you want, man. Take it all.
When I first started this channel nearly a year ago now, I did a video on Dead by Daylight. Seeing as the Steam sales had some pretty good and cheap games, the lads and I decided to fire up and play Friday the 13th, the video game. Created by Illogical and Gun Media, the studio who created the interesting Predator game, Friday the 13th is basically what it sounds like. Now, it had a very bad launch when it originally released, and what Cyberpunk is hoping for, it's somewhat smoothed out and it's now, well, somewhat playable. So let's see how Friday the 13th, the video game, is now in 2021. Released in 2017, Friday the 13th, the video game is a asymmetrical horror title where, similar to Dead by Daylight, camp counselors try to survive Camp Crystal Lake and escape, all while one player is hunting the counselors down as Jason. Now, unlike Dead by Daylight, where every player in Friday the 13th gets to play in third person, and the game is more tailored to Jason winning, rather than the even playing field you get in Dead by Daylight. Now, where in Dead by Daylight, the killer would need to keep their eye open and daisy chain between generators, Jason can easily track down players and move about the camp. Counselors need to search for resources and keep an eye out for signs of Jason. Let's start with the counselor, shall we? The counselor gameplay starts into a intro cinematic where Jason appears and kills an NPC. Now, this cinematic is crucial as it will tell you what Jason you're facing off against, but we'll get to that a little later. Players will be separated from each other and will need to search nearby cabins and areas for resources. Now, there are multiple resources and tools. Finding a propeller and gasoline will repair a boat, allowing players to escape via the lake. Finding car keys, replacing a battery and topping it up with fuel lets players escape via the road out of that area in a car. One of the last easy ways to escape is to call the police and waiting for them to arrive in a 5-minute timer and then walking out to one of the random sides of the map that the police spawn at. Now, there are also two other ways to survive the night. Either wait for the timer to run out and the round to end like a little bitch, or by killing Jason, which is cool if you don't fuck it up.
Oh, Dudi fucked it. Dudi fucked it. What the fuck, Dudi? Oh, fucking...
Besides finding resources to repair escape vehicles, which are randomly scattered around the map, you can also find tools to help defend against Jason. Pocket knives are an easy get-out-of-jail-free card in case Jason tries to grab you and execute you, but it's a one-use tool. Firecrackers can be used as a distraction tool, thinking that players might be around a certain area, but if Jason walks into them, he's blinded and stunned for a moment. Double-barrel shotguns will deal a load of damage to Jason, knocking him to the ground, giving you time to get away. You'll get a similar effect with the flare gun too. Melee weapons can be used against Jason, and while you can stun him and even knock his mask off, it's a bit like whacking a stick against a bull terrier. Either way, you're gonna get fucked up. You'll also be able to find health spray that can completely heal you if you've taken any damage. Now, speaking of taking damage, Jason can really fuck you up, but you can also hurt yourself too. If you're stuck inside a cabin and Jason is right behind you, players can leap through windows. Now, if the window isn't already open or Jason has damaged the windows, you'll take damage.
But wait! There's more!
Now, there's also friendly fire, so if another player gets in the way of a shotgun blast or a swing, they'll take the hit, or they'll die. Anyway, just like depending on what Jason you're playing against, depending on what counselor you've picked depends on their skills. Characters can be athletic, allowing them to run around for some time before running out of energy and walking. Smart and brainy characters can have great stealth and repair abilities, but shit stamina, so when Jason is chasing you, you're a pretty easy target for him to catch you. Depending on your character's ability can generally depend on your playstyle. An athletic character can be fantastic from running to one side of the map to the other with supplies, while nerdy repair characters can make the micro games move much quicker. Anytime you're repairing anything, you'll have a minigame where you'll need to press the relevant button. Now, if you fail to press, the minigame round sort of starts all over again, stalling you, and a smart Jason will rotate through the map. Now, if you also fail a minigame, it will make a recognizable noise for Jason to know that you're doing something. You'll hear a water splash if a gasoline minigame is missed. Now, Jason knows where the cars and boats are located as well as power generators, so if you're at a car or boat and you make recognizable noise failing a skill check, alerting Jason to your actions, he'll come after you. If you're getting out on the boat, Jason can quickly move through the water and flip the boat, knocking you out and drowning you, and he moves quicker depending on what Jason is playing as. If you're escaping via the car, Jason can jump out in front of you and immediately smash down on the hood, stalling the engine. From here, Jason can either pull you out of the window, and you're basically fucked, or you can get out yourself. The gameplay as a counselor is high tension, flying by the seat of your pants when you're just about to escape, But you'll also start around and Jason can teleport near you, and that's just the cards you've been dealt. Anytime Jason gets close, just like the heartbeats from Dead by Daylight, you'll hear the iconic Friday the 13th chase music, and the chase music will change depending on what Jason you're going up against. Now, each Jason will also have different abilities and nerfs. Jason from Friday the 13th Part 2, for example, can run, which makes it easier to chase and tail counselors. But Jason Part 2 moves slower in water, where Jason Part 7 moves incredibly quick in the water, but he can't run. Also, depending on what Jason you choose, depends on what weapon they use until you reach level 117, where you can change it out yourself. But for example, Part 3 Jason uses an axe, while Part 6 Jason uses a fence post. Now, when playing as Jason and whatever Jason you've decided to play as, including fake Jason, your objective is to kill everyone. You'll start the round inside Jason's shack, and as you progress through the round, Jason will progressively unlock abilities. You'll be able to use Jason's sense ability, which will quiet ambient noises and highlight counselors running around or inside buildings within its range, or highlight any noise players are making running around. Jason will also be able to morph or teleport around the map, quickly moving him through multiple positions on the map. Now, when Jason does this, the screen for the counselors will blur and shake a bit like a VHS tape. Jason will also have a second range short teleport known as the Shift. Rather than flat teleporting, he sort of moves real quick, and the camera moves is similar to that of the demonic Deadite POV camera that you get from Evil Dead. This lets Jason move quickly through or around buildings, and he can go through buildings if the doors are open. Now, anytime Jason does this, the music will make this weird rewinding noise as well, sort of giving counselors a bit of a heads up. Jason's last real ability is Stalk. Now, activating this cancels out his detection radius to counselors. Now, if Jason is in the area or chasing you, you'll hear the music. However, if Jason is using his Stalk ability, you'll hear nothing, not even his heavy footsteps, giving the players a false sense of safety. Gameplay and combat is pretty straightforward, but also a bit clunky. As Jason, it's incredibly easy to find counselors and kill them. Now, you can either whack away with Jason's main weapon, place bear traps down in unsuspecting areas, throw small ranged attacks, or of course, execute them. By grabbing a character, Jason can decide how they want to remove you. There are simple things like choking the player out, punching a hole straight through their chest, and even placing their face straight into a fireplace. Unlike players using completely game-breaking and cheating perks in Dead by Daylight, if a skilled Jason player properly chases you, causes your character to lose sanity and freak out, and you get caught by Jason, it sort of fits the motive of your counselor dying, and multiple times I've sat there going, you know what? Yeah, you got me, let's see the execution. Now, Jason can be killed, which I'll admit is pretty cool, but requires a bit of teamwork. But Jason can also be stunned from previously mentioned ways. Now, in the last 5 minutes of the round, Jason can go into a rage mode. If players have locked doors to cabins, which is the only way Jason can get inside a cabin, and counselors should always lock the fucking doors, Jason would normally have to whack his way through the doors like Jack Torrance. But in Jason's rage mode, he'll walk straight through walls and doors like a fucking boss, and he can't be stunned. Now, Friday the 13th had some pretty sweet DLCs like new Jason executions, maps, single player challenge modes, and they were pretty rad, and a virtual cabin that will freak you the fuck out. Unfortunately though, there's going to be no new DLC for Friday the 13th, and just before this was announced, we got a tease for Jason X's Uber Jason and a Grendel map, and fuck. Now, there's still a player base for Friday the 13th, and it's quite easy to find matches. Friday was recently $4 on Steam, and there are some hardcore fans still playing the game, and also some new ones. Having said that though, there are a heap of players that deliberately play the game to grief new players. I've been in matches where counselors leave the game as soon as Jason grabs them, calling them names that I won't repeat on here. There's also an in-game party chat. The local in-game chat is great system on paper, but it's also a bit fucking broken. If two players are close to each other, they can talk in-game and they can hear and communicate like you normally would with each other. However, if Jason is nearby, he can also hear this conversation too. Counselors can also find radios in cabins, which will allow players with radios to talk no matter the range. Now, 99% of my matches in Friday the 13th, there'd been squeakers, tosspots, and players who played music through their speakers to annoy counselors and Jason.
Bitch, you ain't getting in the car and get the fucking out of here. Think you can do that? Oh my god, you think you can do that? Yo, bitch!
There's nothing more cringe than a squeaker that's trying to be funny in games like this.
Now, other players cannot be muted. You'll have the option to toggle to mute players, but the talk will still come through in-game, and even the logo will show that they've been muted.
Oh, 2 pocket knives. I can't even find one.
Oi, Jason, they're at the boat. Jason, they're at the boat, they're escaping. Jason!
Also worth noting, depending on how many players you're playing with, the likelihood of playing Jason is pretty low. In 4 hours of playing Friday the 13th, I'd been Jason twice, but you can change your spawn preference, but sometimes it just doesn't work. Now, as previously mentioned, to escape you need to repair relevant modes of transport. It kinda makes sense that you need to repair a boat, but repairing the car is just fucking mind-boggling. So the counsellors drive, presumably, to the camp, and every car not only requires keys to drive, which makes sense, there's no push-button starts like we get nowadays there, but they require fuel and a fucking battery? Why was this a decision? Who drives to a camp and takes their fucking battery out of their fucking car? Look, I get you can put the argument in there that Jason took the batteries out, but why would Jason take the batteries out and then put them inside cabins? If Jason was going to sabotage a car, he'd remove the fucking engine block. Now, there are different variations of Jason to players, but you can play as fake Jason from Friday 5, who basically plays exactly like Jason Voorhees. He can teleport around the map, rage through doors, everything real Jason can do. Where it would have been cool if fake Jason had a completely different set of abilities. If his terror radius didn't exist or it was incredibly small. If he could disguise himself as a counsellor and even sabotage items like the double barrel shotgun, so if someone tries to use it, it would backfire and kill the counsellor. But if Jason got hit with it, or fake Jason got hit with it, he would die because he's not fucking Jason. Something to change up the gameplay a bit, because he's not fucking Jason. Also, the structure of the game is cool, but I just find it a little weird. The premise of the movies is the counsellors don't know Jason has killed other counsellors until there's only a couple people left and it's a bit too late. The round starts with Jason immediately hunting them, so all players already know they're being hunted. Counsellors can also tell when Jason unlocks a newer power with the iconic sound effect that plays. It would have been cool if counsellors got maybe something like 5 minutes to socialise and play mini-games in preparation. Eating food would increase the player's health pool, allowing them to take more hits from Jason. Swimming, exercising, or partaking in other activities would increase your stamina. The Jason player could then view the players and see what they're doing and how they're preparing, but counsellors wouldn't get any notification of when the preparation period ends and when Jason starts, making it hard to tell when Jason is hunting you. So if some players are trying to do multiple buff activities, they could get caught out by Jason. Also, I think Friday the 13th, the game would have been much better as a first-person game for all players rather than third-person. Being a third-person game, it's easy to get a lay of the land and to look behind you when you're moving around, whether it's playing as Jason or a counsellor. But playing as a counsellor in third-person also removes all fear from the game. This is an asymmetrical horror game with no fucking horror. There is a virtual cabin mode in Friday the 13th, which is a first-person puzzle mode, and there are terrifying moments when Jason is stalking and chasing you. Also, as a counsellor, you can easily see and tell when Jason is chasing you. Even if he's using his stalk ability, if you turn your camera around, you can see him.
He's there, you can see him in the fucking shadow, man. He's in that room. He's in the room next to you.
Oh, there's a fuse.
Yeah, he's in the fucking room next to you. He's using his fucking stalk ability.
Basically making his stalk pointless. It'd also be a lot harder and scarier if the whole game was in first person. If Jason used his shift or morph, you couldn't easily tell where he was. Imagine going through a cabin and walking past a window and seeing Jason for a split second, and then when you do a double take, he's gone. You don't have that in this game, and honestly, I have no fucking idea why Illogical or Gun Media made it a third-person game. Imagine when a counsellor has high fear and is freaking out, and players have to fight against the movement controls for the character's head. When counsellors aren't scared, it would play like a normal first-person game, but when Jason is chasing them and they're freaking out, the counsellor's head would keep turning from fear and hearing noises. You could make it a bit harder for Jason players too, seeing through the eye holes of his hockey mask and hearing him breathing. Now, depending on what Jason you're playing as, sure, he has the different abilities, but Jason from Friday 2, for example, has one eye hole, making it harder to look for counsellors, but because he can run, it sort of evens it out. Friday the 13th, and really any asymmetrical horror game as well, suffers from the same problem, and then it can be a bit boring if you're playing it by yourself. Now, if you're a fan of the Friday series, you could easily spend a heap of time in the single-player challenges, virtual cabins, and offline games against AI. But playing the multiplayer solo with kids who scream and can't be muted is fucking taxing. It's also quite frustrating when you're playing as a counsellor and other counsellors aren't working on escaping or repairing items. Yes, you're playing as a character who's meant to die just from the premise and the setting of the game itself, but it's annoying as fuck to see counsellors fuck around rather than trying to escape. Now yes, the game isn't getting any new DLC or additions, and yes, Ilphonic and Gun Media have moved on to the Predator game, but I'd love to see more done with this franchise. Due to legal reasons, it's holding up any further games, DLCs, or really anything Jason related. Servers have been turned off and there are now peer-to-peer servers, so if the host leaves the game because they got caught by Jason, everyone is booted. But imagine a remaster, remake, or even a fucking sequel to this game. Friday the 13th has fantastic executions, the score and sound is fucking perfect, and the atmospheric, ooh. It would have been rad to have Jason on a cruise ship for one mission. Yes, it's an awful movie, but having multiple levels on a cruise ship where counsellors are trying to lower the life rafts would have been fucking cool. While it's still a little bit buggy and full of squeakers, Friday the 13th can be fucking fun. If you've got a group of mates looking for something new and fun to play as a group, Friday the 13th will provide that. There was one moment escaping with mates in the car while another buddy was being chased by Jason. We pulled the car over, we let our mate in, I got out of the car, blasted Jason with a shotgun, and we escaped. Any time in a car or boat and no one has eyes on Jason, it's heart-racing excitement. Now again, I picked this up for $4 in the Steam sales, and if you and your mates are looking for something to pick up for a quick laugh and fun, pick it up when it is on sale for sure, and you'll get your money's worth.
Fall in front of the car.
No, you won't be able to pull down.
Oh!
That was gangster. How good was that stun? I knocked him on his fucking ass. We probably could have gone at that point, to be honest. I didn't spur
Fuck no, Cobby, you need to see that film.
You ever seen that film, Tommy Jarvis? You ever seen that?